Finally, DC fanboys are like, yes, I told y'all so. I told you that one day the mighty juggernaut that is Marvel will be stinking up stuff just like we are. So finally, Eternals seem to have the lowest Rotten Tomato score of all times. But guess what? Still winning the war, people. We still winning the war.
Here we go.
And here I go. Hey, this is your boy Comic Chat, Danny Graham. Hey, if this is the first time if this is the first time you view my channel, I'm gonna actually do one thing for me. I'm gonna ask you to please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Also, beside that subscribe button is the notification bell. Make sure you hit that because I don't want you to miss any material that I upload. Also, leave me a comment because I read and check those comments out, and I always respond back to you. And guess what? I want you to give me a thumbs up. Thumbs up helps the YouTube algorithm. I don't know how. All I know is that it does. Now, I can only imagine the past few days, all these DC fanboys are just going outside or in their living room or wherever they decide to stand up at or live or do their reactions, and they're just like they're supreme haterade for for MCU. And I bet you they're standing outside doing this right here. Oh, thank you. Finally, MCU is getting bad reviews like we are. Finally, MCU seems to be human and they can make mistakes and they can sidestep. They're just looking and being like, dog, Marvel? MCU? How did that happen? How did they get so bad as we did? How are their Rotten Tomatoes just as bad as ours? Well, guess what? You might be winning this battle, you might win this round, but just because you win a round, just because you win a battle, don't mean you win a war, don't mean you win the fight. So, Mr. Feige, like I always said, the super genius that he is, he not even worried about this. He's shaking this off because guess what? At the end of the day, all he doing is world building, laying the groundwork for it. And guess what? It is Rotten Tomatoes. It has low scores. I can't sit here and deny and say that it doesn't. But I'm not worried about this because just like when Iron Man came out, I don't know what the Rotten scores was for that. I would have to look it up, which I didn't before doing this video. But just the way he started off with, well, they started off with Iron Man, and it was the ground brick, laid the groundwork for what is now MCU. This right here is another phase, and a completely another phase. They're going in a completely different direction. So they have to make sure that the groundwork is stable. So that is why this movie is not going to be what we're accustomed to. And I know I've said in the past that MCU has spoiled us with a certain level of movie. I'm pretty sure this movie is going to look good. I'm pretty sure the special effects are going to be fine. The action that we're going to accustomed to seeing in MCU, we're going to see that in spurts, I do believe, but we're not going to see it the whole way. We're going to see a lot more of character development. We're going to see world building, and we're going to lay the groundwork for the next phase, which is going into the cosmic part of the MCU universe. So, people, you got to be patient because one thing I know Kevin Feige is good at doing is that he makes movies more important or more better with follow-up movies. Because when you see something in a movie that's going to come behind the Eternals, you're going to be like, damn. So that's what they were talking about in Eternals. So that's what happened in Eternals. That's when it makes the movie even better. He did that in several of his movies. I've heard several people say that after seeing certain shows, it made Ultron better, especially in the what ifs, especially in particular what ifs. They made people go back and appreciate the Avengers Ultron. Also in Loki's or in the Winter Soldier and the Falcon. Some of the things that they did there are making other movies better. Now, one movie that to me just It's not Kevin Feige's fault. The Black Widow movie is kind of out of sequence. It was way out of sequence, but he did that because he owed Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, and he owed the actress who played her that he owed her that movie because she has been a fan favorite. She's been a stable. She's been always there. Scarlett Johansson. She's always been a loyal fan character, a movie character, and she's always done her best to bring Natasha Romanoff, the Black Widow, to life. She did an excellent job. So they owe her that movie, but it was a little bit too late out of sequence. It should have been maybe 3 or 4 movies before it actually came out. But I definitely think that maybe, um, well, the thing that's measured by is how much money it's going to make. It may not make much as the Black Widow. I think it will when it's all said and done. It may not be as popular as the movies that we're going to see, but you also got to remember, whether you want to admit this or not, we're in a pandemic, so people are not going to the movies like they once were. That's going to hurt it. That's just a fact now. Until these numbers we get a better handle on these numbers and these cases, until people confidence start rising more about going to see movie theaters, then definitely it's not going to make the money that it once would. No pandemic, this movie would easily make, in my opinion, upwards of $800 million, if not $1 billion. Um, it may not be, like I said, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm just going by critics and other YouTubers that are talking a lot. Oh, this movie's a dud. Oh, it's Marvel's first dud. It's this, it's that. Okay, it may not make as much money financially as other Marvels, what we've grown accustomed to seeing, but I think it's going to be just fine. I think that once you get the groundwork for it, and then we watch other movies, and then Kevin Feige is going to tie other movies into this. He's going to reveal more things about, oh, so that's what happened. That's why they did this. So that's why this was done. And that is what is genius to me, storytelling. Kevin Feige, to me, like I always said, he's a super genius. I have confidence in him. Of course, just like the perfect example, there are artists that we all love. Sometimes some of the songs they make we like, sometimes some not so much, but we still like the artist, don't we? We still, if he's a fan favorite, or if you like a particular singing artist or a movie actor, or whatever. Sometimes movies you go to and they see you love and you like and they're classics. There's some you like, I like the actor, but I didn't particularly care for this movie. The same thing applies to the MCU, Kevin Feige, but everybody's looking at them under a microscope because now they're the king of the hill. They're going to remain the king of the hill unless something over there in WB land drastically changes. Now I have hope from the DC fandom because it showed us a several different properties that, if handled correctly, could gain tremendous ground on the MCU. I don't think it's going to pass it yet because they're not showing consistent things. You got to show a consistent row or a consistent number of things to start to sway people one way or the other. They're looking like they're in the right direction, but I don't think they're there yet. But people are saying like this, I have no worries that this movie is going to be just fine. Will it make the money that it normally would make if there was no pandemic and people were going to the movie theaters? No, because word of mouth is going to get it. Word of mouth. If someone likes it, someone that you trust that's in your circle goes and watches this movie and say, it wasn't the normal MCU movies, but it was pretty good. Now, of course, there are gonna be some people that's not gonna like it because it's not action packed from beginning to the end. But guess what? In game, at one time, the highest grossing movie ever. You talk to MCU fans or some MCU fans, they only watch the first 30 minutes, fast forward through the hour and a half, and get to the last hour. Okay, that's the best movie now, fiscal money wise, best highest grossing movie in the world at one time. Avatar is now taking you claim that top spot, but at one time, in game, $2 billion plus movie. People fast forward through it, and it was a good movie. So just let that marinate in your mind for a minute. Highest grossing movie, and a lot of people fast forward after the first 30 minutes to the last hour, which the last hour takes us home. So I'm just saying. So Eternals, I'm not worrying about whether people say it's a flop, whether financially it is a flop. I think I'm going to like it because I have faith. I trust in Mr. Kevin Feige. So if you feel like I feel, or you think I'm blowing smoke, whatever, and like, Danny, you're wrong, Danny, you're right, please leave a comment below in the comment box because I want to hear what you got to say. I'm going to respond back to you. And like I said, I have no worries about this movie. Some people are gonna like it, some people not. Some people are gonna hate it just because there are MCU and Kevin Feige haters. You know who you are. Whatever Kevin Feige makes, for whatever reason, you're going to hate it. You know who you are. You know who I'm talking to. You know who you are. And I think if this movie is successful, and at the end when we see the whole product, Kevin Feige is probably gonna say this to some of y'all.
Shut the fuck up.
That's what I would say. If I was Kevin Feige, that's exactly what I would say. This movie's a success. So until next time, please leave a comment because I want to hear what you got to say, and I will catch you on the flip side.